This is day one of reviving, rewilding, and reforesting my 3 acres of neglected woodland. Now, before we get started, always remember, Earth is my planet.
Earth is my planet.
So it is your host with the most, Paul Cantu, and a week ago I purchased 3 acres in southeast Texas, right outside of Houston, and this area is rife and full of invasive species. Now, when you have a forest, of course, you need your canopy of giant, mature, well-established trees, but you also need the understory, a shrub layer, and then you have the ground cover species that make up the forest floor. Now, unfortunately, this has become a closed canopy forest. And in Houston, most of the areas were actually forested in like pine savannas with a bunch of prairie species underneath. Now, unfortunately, due to the escape of Asian species of trees in cultivation, this area is full of invasive tree species. So today, I'm going to begin the arduous task of removing as many invasive tree species as I can on my property to let in more light to the understory so I can start throwing in some native prairie species, and also so that way when the springtime arrives, I also can throw in some shrubs and some other understory trees that are native to this area to bring in more birds, deer, wildlife, and overall just make this a refuge in a natural ecosystem to support all the bee, pollinator, and of course, all the wildlife species that naturally occur in this area. So there are 3 main culprits of being invasive species in the southeast, and some of these you guys might actually have growing in your backyard. Now, I recently was at the Houston Arboretum. I recommend anyone who lives in H-Town go check it out, and they actually had a little placard and educational display that listed 3 predominant invasive species that are found in shady woodland areas. Let me roll the clip. And these are all the trees on the property that need to be cut down. And there are a ton of these invasive. What's up, dude? You gonna help me? All right, man. Teach the people a lesson. So as you guys saw, the 3 invasive species are the waxleaf ligustrum, very annoying and super prevalent in this environment. You also have the Chinese privet, which is very confusing because it somewhat looks like the native Yopon holly, which is extremely beneficial for wildlife. And then you have the Chinese tallow tree, also known as a popcorn tree, and this grows everywhere. I go to local parks and I see the parks are infested with it, and they've just let them grow, and whoever manages those ecosystems, or the parks for that matter, have no idea the damage that is causing, seeing as they make millions of seeds that are easily spread. So the main culprit I'm going to go at today is very easy to identify, and that is the waxleaf ligustrum. So right on the road's edge, entering my property, you have a multitude of the waxleaf ligustrum behind me, and they are very easy to identify, seeing as even in the coldest of winter temperatures, they remain evergreen, and they love the woodland edges, to be exact. So here are what the leaves look like, and these are a super annoying species because they form multi-trunk, very tall trees. And on those trees, you have the berries, and there is not a single shortage of the quantity of berries that these produce, that the birds eat, poop out everywhere. And then you have this guy blocking out all of the sun from reaching the forest floor down below. So yes, entering my property, there are a ton of these guys, and I actually am not going to cut down the ones at the entrance from the get-go, because that'll just make it easier for people to run into my property and to look like it is being cultivated. So I do want this area to be a little bit more discreet. So until I have plants that I bring on site to replace these guys with, I'm going to leave the like 3 at the entrance of my property, aside from the one with all the berries that gotta go. So then, adding salt to the wound, right in the entrance of my property, we have a large tree, and this is a Chinese tallow tree. I know it based off of the popcorn like seed heads it has going vertically. Now it is a deciduous tree, and the leaves are very easy to identify. They have a very unique curvaceous shape to them. So this guy is also going to have to go. And then I think we hit the holy trinity of actually devil-like. So we have the demonic trinity of invasive species. I think this is the Chinese privet right next to it. So not even 4 feet into the property, we have the demonic triad in abundance in the woodland. We gotta start getting rid of it, man. Now, before we get rid of it, I wanna show y'all the difference between the native Yaupon holly, which is gorgeous, covered with these red berries, but does look somewhat similar and grow somewhat similar to the Chinese privet. Now, as you look at the leaves, they have a rough outer shape to them. Y'all can kind of see they're slightly, not necessarily jagged, but not smooth edges to the leaves. Whereas the Chinese privet has perfectly smooth edges to the leaves. Okay, so it doesn't have all the little jagged doodads. So all of those have got to go. And we got 3 acres of this to accomplish. So I think the first species I'm going to tackle is going to be the waxleaf ligustrum. Now, when it comes to tackling the small specimens, I'll just hold the camera in hand. So you just want to drop down to the base, lop it off, and then you want to spray that tiny little sprig. So we've encountered the first pretty big specimen. There actually are a couple of them. There's this young buck right here, which will be taken out. And then there is this daddy that's getting a little bit larger. Again, the waxy evergreen leaves, big old pole. It's time to bring that puppy down. So the first 2 relatively large waxleaf ligustrums have been cut down, and there are so many more to go. In the future, I'm going to cut them a little bit higher because they are a tripping hazard being that low. Tripping. So yeah, I definitely need to make sure I cut them a little bit higher, but it feels good knowing I made a tiny bit of progress thus far. But the amount of seedlings everywhere on the forest floor are insane of these invasive species. So for now, I'm going to take out the biggest ones first because those are the ones producing a lot of seeds. And then every time I pull up to the property, I'll probably make it a mission to take out like 50 of the seedlings. And hopefully eventually I will be victorious in this arduous task. Look at this huge ash waxleaf ligustrum. And then its stupid little babies. So this is probably the one that is seeding this entire area. I'm not gonna lie, I might need a chainsaw for this. These are pretty damn girthy. But we're gonna start off slow, and I'm gonna see how it goes. Well, I made one big cut. It fell, but it got stuck on a dead tree. Look at that. Dude, this is hectic because I gotta keep my safety in mind, the camera safety in mind, and try and not have the trees also damage other trees that I want. So I have to really be angular with how these things fall. And I'm learning. So y'all can see the evolution of my technique. Got a nice notch. Now I'm gonna make this cut, and it should fall that way. Ran out of battery. But I got more. All right, y'all. So this is the progress I've made thus far. Took down that giant waxleaf ligustrum, and now all we have is the stump. I'm gonna remove all the foliage and spray it. This does feel like progress. And now I know how to safely cut down trees. Yes. Woo-wee. There's another one down. So as I mentioned, there are 3 invasive species, and behind me, we have a bunch of the Chinese privet that I need to get out of the way, so that way I have a clear path to removing even more waxleaf ligustrums. So as y'all can see, these guys aren't the most difficult to remove. I think I'm gonna come out here with just a shovel and a pickaxe and just dig all the little dudes up and literally burn them or something, because that's a lot easier than cutting them and spraying them. So yeah, I'll probably come out here with the pickaxe another day. There goes that one. See, a lot you can just pull by hand. Like this waxleaf ligustrum, that's all it takes, man. Just a little hand pulling, get them out. That's probably gonna be the easiest way to go with a lot of these guys. Look at that, out of there. Come on, daddy. Y'all, check this out. I just found this Dr. Miles Medical Company old school bottle. I think this is from like the 1900s. This is like a little vivarium or small natural aquarium. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is officially day 3 of me attempting to clear the land. This is not gonna be a multi-day project. This is going to be probably a year or so long project. With that being said, I finally made an investment, and yes, I have gotten a chainsaw. So this should make my life a hell of a lot easier. This is an Ego chainsaw. It is all electric. The version I got cost me $250 because I opted for a smaller battery, which is nice. It'll make it lighter, and I don't have too many giant trees to take down. So this one is only a 16-inch bar, but I think for clearing small trees, cutting limbs, this will be a lot easier than carrying that giant pole saw around everywhere. And we're gonna see today if felling trees will be a lot easier with this technique. Also, I am going to use the hack and squirt technique. And that is basically where you get a hatchet, you cut into a tree and you spray it with herbicide, glyphosate or triglyphosate, whatever, man. You spray it with herbicide and it will kill the tree. Now, I did this a week ago and my technique was a little bit off. I think I was kind of chiseling away at the outer tree bark. I think it'll work, but I can more effectively just smack a tree, spray it, and keep going with one cut. So I am going to do that. I got a Windex bottle full of spray, so I'm going to GoPro up later, and I am going to just walk through and spray everything that is an invasive species all the way down. But for now, it's time to get to using the chainsaw to remove some of these invasives. I am going to girdle a giant Chinese tallow tree, which means I'm going to cut around the exterior bark and then spray that with glyphosate as well, just to make sure the whole tree does die. And the reason why I'm doing that and not felling the whole tree right now is because I don't have too much time today, so I just want to make sure I do kill it so it stops producing seeds, and leaving it standing will be a lot more efficient than to have to cut up the entire tree trunk today. But let's get started.
Finish him!
Okay, so I've used the chainsaw a couple of times and it's made life a total breeze. Watch how quick this is, man. I should have bought this a couple days ago. That is insane. I love it. So we've knocked out the girdling. Dude, I look like an alien. We also knocked out a few invasive privets that were in the ground, and now I'm going to mount up and do the hack and spray. I think this is going to be the most efficient way of taking out a ton of these privets, because while I do have a lot of time on my side, I rather not have to go in and cut every single one out by hand. So let's mount up and get to cutting. So we got a hatchet in one hand, we got the herbicide in the other. It's time to go akimbo and start knocking out these invasive species. So let's just make a notch right there. Spray that herbicide. Yep, here's another big privet and another one. Oh man, this is a big privet right here. Bro, I hear a ton of birds. Like y'all can see there's movement way out there. God, I can't capture it all though. Hopefully they move out this way. That's insane. And alrighty daddy guys, we are done for the day. Once again, did a lot of the hacking and spraying, cleared out a couple of trees. I moved all these logs over here, which I might use for projects or just as firewood. And then I have created a small brush pile, which is behind me. So I think I'm just gonna dig a nice little fire pit, bring out some of my friends at night. Then we'll just smoke up a bunch of this invasive waxleaf ligustrum, Chinese tallow, and some of the privet as well. But if you guys did enjoy, please smash the like button. Any comments down below are more than welcome. I'm so glad I got the chainsaw. It made a world of a difference from using that pole saw. And again, this is only the beginning because I have so much to clear, so many different invasive trees that I need to eviscerate, get rid of. And then I'm gonna have to start clearing out some of the natives just so I can move through, so sunlight can hit the ground, and that way I can have forbs, flowers, ground covers, all growing underneath this forest canopy. So I definitely need to open up some areas, but there is so much unique character in this forest. I cannot wait to continue to restore it, continue to enhance it, and ultimately begin to add to it this year as well. But until next time, always remember, Earth is my planet.
Earth is my planet.
And I will catch you guys soon. Hit the like button on the way out. Peace.
Killing these songs, leaving a bloody life I roost to. And I'm in it to win it, so I'm somebody that you should get used to.